Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's GSA virtual info session, all about the drama program for the Governor's School for the Arts. We're so glad to have you here and spend the afternoon speaking with you about our drama program. So to start off with, I always like to ask folks, to introduce themselves and say hello to the group, your name, if you're comfortable with that, where you're from, what county you live in. So if you want to set your messenger or your chat feature to message all attendees, just tell the group hello, where you're at, maybe your name if you're okay with that, just so you all get a sense of who's in the room today. Hello, Madeline. Hello, Jody. Hi, Kate. All right. Hi, Brady from Muhlenberg County. And Delaney from Muhlenberg County. All right, Muhlenberg County is representing. Alexis from Rowan County. Hello. Breathitt County. Awesome. Hi, Summer. Great. Well, feel free to keep introducing yourself to the group. We just want you all to have a sense of who's in the room as well, just because we can see who all is here, and I think it helps for you all to have a sense of that too. I'm also going to launch a poll just to get a little bit more information from you all in terms of if you're a student, a teacher, and also just to get a sense of what materials from GSA you've had a chance to review this fall, including any previous virtual info sessions, if you've had a chance to watch those in real time or recording of them, if you've had a chance to review the applicant guide for drama. It's totally okay if you haven't attended a virtual info session or if you haven't had a chance to read the applicant guide. Just curious, and it kind of helps us tailor the presentation to you today. Leave that poll up there for just another minute. Yeah, keep those introductions coming if you haven't already. Beautiful. Hello, everyone. All right, I'll go ahead and end this poll in just a second. All right, so looks like we have mostly students joining us today, which is awesome. Hello to our one parent in the virtual room today. Great to have you here as well, and thank you for supporting your child's artistic interests. To those students watching, good for you for taking your GSA application into your own hands and learning as much as you can. And it looks like most of you have attended a virtual info session before. Most of you have had a chance to read the applicant guide, but like I said, we're going to make sure you know how to get any information that you may not get today through other resources that we have available at GSA. So without further ado, I'm going to start by introducing myself and then have our guest introduce himself. My name is Nick Covald. I'm the director of the Governor's School for the Arts. I'm also a proud alum of our vocal music program. And we're joined today by Mr. Bo List. Bo, are you there? Awesome. So Bo is on our drama faculty at GSA. And full disclosure, he is not going to be one of the folks adjudicating this year's drama applications. However, he is the person that I worked with to design the adjudication process, and he works very closely with the adjudicators. So he can speak very, very well to what we're looking for in the drama program and the drama application, and how we use the materials that you are submitting for the process. So Bo, we're so glad to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a Lexington, Kentucky native, University of Kentucky and University of Memphis alum with theater degrees. I was never a Governor's School for the Arts student, unfortunately, but for the last 7 years, I've had a great time working with the program and getting to know the state through the wonderful students that have come through it. I'm the director of theater at Sayre School in Lexington, Kentucky, and the artistic director of Athens West Theater Company, also here in Lexington.
Awesome. So Bo, you help us design this drama application process, the audition process. You teach at the summer program. Why do you love working with GSA, working with young artists, working with, the processes that, ask like the application process, the audition process? Why do you do all this?
Sure. Well, I think theater is the most important thing you can possibly study. And I think that a science teacher would probably say that science is, and a math teacher would say that math is, and they have their right to do so. For me, theater is all about learning how to work together and collaborate. And it's standing up for yourself and speaking your mind, speaking your thoughts, speaking your heart. The bundle of skills that come with theater are so tremendous and so diverse that no matter what you want to do with your life, both in career and your avocation, what you want to do to make a difference in the world, There's nothing that won't be improved by being able to explore your voice, raise your confidence, learn self-awareness, and all of the things that the study of theater can do. So I have seen the arts transform lives across the state. I've seen young people go from being inconfident and unsure of themselves to being sometimes smugly overconfident, but much more aware of their own power, much more aware of their own voice. I have a saying here at school that I try to teach my students to speak up, speak out, and speak well. And nothing does that better than theater. And all of those skills are going to be super important no matter what you do with your life. And I think people will know better what to do with their life once they've been through this program.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thanks, Bo. So how the conversation is going to go today is I'm actually going to share my screen in a moment, lead us through a quick presentation about some big picture facts about GSA, not art form specific. And then Bo and I will take a look at the applicant guide for drama together and talk more about the application process and what we're looking for by way of reviewing the applicant guide. So bear with me for just a moment while I share my screen and we'll get started. All right, so first off, let's review some big picture facts about the summer program itself. The GSA summer program is a 3-week residential program that will take place in 2021 at the University of Kentucky from June 27th until July 17th. Students attend GSA for one of 9 art forms, and the program is completely tuition free. And while it's too soon to know what's coming or what the coming months will bring, rather, GSA is currently anticipating that the summer program will take place in person, even if there must be additional health and safety protocols put in place. So you're going to hear us talk about the summer program today with the assumption that it will be in person. All GSA 2021 applicants must complete an online application that is due by end of day, January 10th, 2021. From there, some applicants will be invited to advance to a second round. That's the final round of auditions and reviews. Applicants learn whether they've advanced to that second and final round on February 19th. And for those who do advance, that final audition and review will take place on March 19th or 20th. We're still determining whether the final round will take place in person or virtually, and we plan on releasing more information about that by the finalist announcement on February 19th. So hang tight and stay tuned. Finally, we released the list of accepted students for GSA 2021 on April 16th, and on that day, we also announced a list of alternates for the summer program. Students must currently be a sophomore or a junior to apply. We're not going to ask for your GPA, SAT, or ACT scores at any point during this process, and you can apply for up to 2 art forms. There is an application fee of $30, and that increases to $35 total if you're applying for 2 art forms, but that fee is waived with the click of a button in the application for students who qualify for free or reduced lunch. Well, we are thrilled to speak with you today about GSA's drama program, and we're confident that today is going to be helpful for you. Remember that today's virtual info session will not be 100% comprehensive, and there are many other important resources that you should utilize to learn more about the program and the application. All of those are available on our website or linked from our website, which is KentuckyGSA.org. Be sure to read the applicant guide for your art form of interest. Again, Bo and I are going to be looking at that applicant guide with you today, but we're not going to cover the whole thing 100% comprehensively. So really take some time on your own to read that and go over all those details for yourself. And finally, remember that today's virtual info session is part of a series of info sessions that you can either attend or review recordings of. We got started back in October with 3 webinars, and again, all the recordings of those are on our website at KentuckyGSA.org. Today's webinar is also being recorded. But we got started with GSA 101, which is an overview of the application process and what to expect at the summer program. So if you have questions about things like residential life at the summer program or the schedule of the summer program, really encourage you to check out GSA 101. Our second webinar on October 15th was the applicant guide webinar, where we looked at applicant guides and talked in more detail about how to use them. We also covered a lot of details about the recommendation process in that webinar. On October 29th, we had an application walkthrough webinar. We actually went into the application portal and completed the application from start to finish. So I encourage you to check that one out as well. In addition to the art form specific webinars that we're having, such as this one, we'll also have one final open Q&A virtual info session on December 17th. Remember, you can contact us directly at any time with your specific and customized questions. just shoot us an email at gsainfo@kentuckyperformingarts.org. Remember, there are no scary adults here at GSA waiting to judge you. We're all always happy to hear from you and happy to answer your questions. So don't hesitate to reach out to us at any point. We're also on social media. You can see our information for Facebook and Instagram on this slide. And remember, start your application as soon as possible so that you can get your questions answered as soon as possible. Like I said, that application is due on January 10th. Inevitably, our system is going to be running slow that day because so many people will be uploading applications. And also the holiday season is, only a couple weeks before that application deadline. And we are going to be out of the office intermittently during the holidays. So go ahead and start asking your questions nice and early. Speaking of questions, we will have a Q&A at the end of today's session. So as you have questions about the drama application or the drama program, please put them in the Q&A feature here in Zoom, not the chat feature, but the Q&A feature, and we'll come back to those at the end of the session. Finally, you'll receive a survey after today's session, either when we end the webinar or a link to the survey will be emailed to you. Please take that survey. It's super helpful to us as we assess our recruitment efforts here at GSA. So bear with me for just one moment. I'm going to pull up the applicant guide. And Bo, are you ready to talk about the drama program?
Yes, I am.
All right. So when you go to our website and pull up the drama applicant guide, this is what you will see. And we're going to review this section by section. I'll kind of review what's in a section, and then we'll get more input and feedback from Bo. So the first section is a program description, which this is describing what it's like to attend GSA for drama. So you know what you're getting yourself into in the first place by applying. I'm actually going to read this paragraph verbatim. It's probably the one time today I'll do that. GSA's drama program is an intensive acting course with emphasis on development of vocal and physical expressiveness, storytelling skills, ensemble attitude, creative thinking, and promoting positive change through theater. Drama students receive instruction in voice and speech, movement for the actor, monologue and scene study, improvisation, and creating original works. Drama students meet and study with a number of theater professionals, attend summer theater productions, collaborate with other GSA disciplines, and are provided with insights into educational opportunities and career options in theater. While the program is process-oriented, drama students work toward a final showcase of monologues, scenes, and ensemble pieces for the final day of the summer program. So, Bo, tell us a little bit more about what it's like to attend GSA for drama.
Sure. My co-teacher, Bill Case, introduces himself at the beginning of every program by saying that it is a boot camp. And he'll say that probably 5 times very slowly until it sinks into the students that what they're about to experience is hard, it's training, and that there's something rewarding and really honorable waiting for you at the end of the program. In many ways, it's a college prep program. People who go through this program in theater, those who go on to study theater in college, are grateful for the chance to get access to some early concepts, some really great and mature text, and some of the things you do your first year in college, we do over the summer. And so they approach those tasks later on with greater ability, greater confidence, greater facility. We wake up in the morning and we do things related to performance. We explore our voices, we build our voices up. Our physical theater specialist, Ellie Clark, she does yoga, she kicks our tuchuses and makes us move and get our bodies going and get us in touch with the instrument, the physical instrument that we all have as performers. I'm the scene study and directing guy. I help people get in touch with their feelings. I do improvisation. It's kind of theater morning, noon, and night. Nick, you may touch on this later, but in the middle of all of this, there are collaborations with other art forms. There are workshops with other art forms as well. So even if you are a drama person, you will probably have access to the writing program. You'll have access to dance, musical theater, instrumental music, opportunities to try new and different things that are maybe outside of your interest, but you've never thought about it before, or maybe because we have a lot of intersectional artists who are good sculptors and good poets and good actors, opportunities to increase the breadth and depth of your understanding of all of the art forms. We get to see each other's work, we get to support each other's work, we explore different critical processes, so we learn better how to tell people what worked and what didn't about their performance. We toughen our own skin so we can hear constructive but heartfelt criticism that lets us know what's good about what we're doing and what can improve. And at the end, there's a showcase of our work where we get to show the world and everyone and our families and our mentors and our loved ones everything that we've been doing for 3 weeks in a showcase that includes physical theater, vocal performance within theater, and scenes, and sometimes monologues, and sometimes masks and devised work. It's a little bit of a grab bag of everything, but we do it at great depth, and students learn a great deal about themselves and their art form over the course of 3 grueling but rewarding weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, Bo. Sounds like fun. All right. Jump back over to the applicant guide and move into the next section, which is the preliminary round application requirement. So this is especially timely because this section outlines everything that you need to upload for your initial GSA application that's due on January 10th. So you'll see we have this list here, A, B, C, D, E, F, and each of these sections is explained in more detail lower in this section. So we'll start off with 2 recommendation forms. Again, there is a lot of information in previous virtual info sessions and also in this applicant guide about recommendation forms. So really encourage you to take time to review that. But the short version of the story is that you have to identify a school administrator recommender and a teacher recommender. And you submit their email addresses in your application, and then we take care of the rest. We email them the recommendation forms. So Bo, tell us, why do we ask for recommendation forms in this process? And what are maybe some things that students can consider as they choose their recommenders and reach out to them to let them know that they'd like for them to be their recommender?
It's important that we get these recommendations because we need to know that the student and the program are a good fit. If a student isn't used to working hard, if they've gotten by at a kind of a medium level, if their interest in drama or the arts is so-so, but think that this would be a fun way of spending their summer, then this is probably not a great fit. We're looking for hard workers. We're looking people who are thoughtful. Do they need to be the most talented people? Not necessarily. We just need to see the promise of talent. Do they need to be the most experienced people? Definitely not. We love working with people who are bursting with ability but haven't had the chance to explore it yet. We are looking for people who have great character, people who are willing to be dedicated and put a lot of time into projects, young people willing to give generously of themselves. And these recommendations tend to be a really great way of getting to know the student through the lens of these criteria. Are they going to be perfectly all-encompassing descriptions of the students? No, but it'll be a useful snapshot for us as we're weighing the many students who apply for the program.
Awesome, thank you. All right, moving along. So as I scroll down here, you will see all the information about the rec forms that you can read if you need any more information. And that brings us to the personal short essay, and I'm going to go ahead and group that together with the next item, the personal question video. So these are basically 2 essay prompts that we ask for you to respond to, one in a written fashion and one in a verbal fashion. So for the personal short essay, this is written, 250-word max, response to the prompt, describe your personal connection to your art form or creative practice. Why and how is it important to you on a personal level? And then the personal question video is sort of an extrinsic version of that question, if you will. So describe your vision for how your individual artistic work, creative practice can impact others. How do you want to affect others through art, and or what response do you hope others have to your work? I want to emphasize for this video, the verbal response, using a smartphone in your living room or your bedroom is totally fine to record that answer. You do not need to go out and hire a professional film crew. Of course, certainly put your best foot forward. Make sure we can see you, that we can hear you, but just know that we want this to be accessible and laid back, especially during this time where we're all at home, just trying to do the best that we can. So, Bo, tell us a little bit about why we ask these questions, how they're helpful to adjudicators, what students should consider as they put their answers together.
Sure. While, of course, we want to find the best actors in the entire world right here in Kentucky, the process of applying and auditioning, seeing whether a performer has talent and ability is one of the things we're looking for. But the main thing we are looking for is to get to know each applicant. We want to get to know who you are, what you're all about, what's important to you, what you like to do. Yes, we want to see your monologue. Yes, we want you to express yourself vividly and articulately through these materials. But the big thing is we want to know your heart. We want to know what your mind. We want to see that you're curious. We want to see that you're good-hearted, supportive of fellow artists. So these questions and the monologues that we ask for, all of it, we just want to get to know you. So I would say that anyone wanting to provide answers that we want to hear about the wonderful and transformative power of the arts, et cetera, that's great, so long as we get to know you through the lens of that. So we encourage you to be specific about experiences. Don't feel like you need to write the definitive essay on why the arts are important or how a teacher inspired you or that kind of thing. Just let us know who you are in relation to the art form, in relation to these prompts. We just want to get to know you. And there's only so much we can get to know through these materials. We could spend hours and hours and hours with interviews, et cetera, and still not scratch the surface. This gives us a little bit of that snapshot we're looking for.
Beautiful. Authenticity is key. All right. So moving along past the personal question video and the personal short essay, the next section that we come to is what we call art form specific questions. For those of you who have applied before, this is a new section of the application, although it's not nothing too daunting or too big. And all we're going to do in this section is ask you a few questions about your interest in theater, your interest in drama, and also if you've had access to things like drama class or if there's a community theater in your region that you've been involved with. It's really important to emphasize that there are no right or wrong answers to these questions. We're not asking them for some sneaky reason to figure out if you're good enough for GSA. Every year we accept students who have all different kinds of answers to these questions. Our purpose for asking these is, one, like Bo said, we want to get to know you. That's one of the biggest parts of this process, is just getting to know you. And that part of getting to know you is understanding what your interests are and also what access you've had to training in theater and arts training. So it really helps us just contextualize your whole application and understand who you are and where you are and what you've had access to in a deeper fashion by asking these questions. So that's why they're there. Bo, do you have anything else to add?
I do. Again, it's important to me as the chair of the program, and when I was auditioning this program, is that the program look and feel and be like all of Kentucky. So the notion that we would only choose the most experienced students is a false one. We want a great big mix of experience levels, because especially in places across the state that have fewer resources, we want to send resources through this program. We want to send kids back into places that don't have drama programs, places that have a lack of funding for the arts, and plant these seeds so that in those communities, there will be more talent, more experience, more knowledge, more wisdom, more creativity, et cetera. So it's important for me, for everyone whose faces unfortunately I can't see, but I know that they are from across the state. If you think that you're at a disadvantage because you live in a very small town in a corner of the state that doesn't have a highway next to it, that's wonderful. We want to reach that part of the state. And if you've never been in a play before, but you have tons of talent and you've had people tell you your whole life you're a drama queen or a drama king, and you want to give it a shot, we want to see your audition. If you've been in every play that your school has done and you do 5 plays a year and you've been doing it since you were 2, great, we want to see you too. We want a great diversity of every single kind so that we can really make a beautiful patchwork that reflects not only what Kentucky is, but what Kentucky can be as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we learn so much better when we learn from people who have had different experiences than ourselves. I think that's especially true for the arts. All right. Thanks, Bo. So moving along to the part that many of you are probably thinking about right now, your monologue. What's your monologue going to be? Recording your monologue. So you do have to upload one video of a monologue performance, max 90 seconds. And again, there's more guidelines in here for you to read than we're going to cover today. So come back to this, take time with it. we ask you to introduce yourself and we tell you how to do so. And then we have some guidelines for your monologue. We're looking for a monologue from a produced and published play that you've read entirely. We're asking that it's memorized, so on. So be sure to take time with that. And then before we move on to the next piece, I think we're gonna just pause on the monologue for a moment. And Bo, talk to us about the monologue. I'm sure some folks are, kind of wondering which one they should select. Maybe they're trying to choose between a couple or just find one in the first place. And just thinking through how they can best present their monologue in their video. So what thoughts do you have?
Sure. My first thoughts are when I auditioned, it was before there was a virtual online submission. It was us going around the state, sometimes staying overnight in a community and going to a school, and we would see in person monologue after monologue after monologue, and we saw so many that we came up with these guidelines so that the poor adjudicators would be spared seeing the same thing over and over again, seeing material that was inappropriate for the student, not just in terms of content, but there's no reason that a young person auditioning for this program should play a very old man in their monologue, and I saw in one, I cheated and went ahead and looked at one of the questions. Someone said, "Can I cuss in my monologue?" Different adjudicators think different things. I would say some mild profanity might be okay, but I'm hard to offend, and it might be that the person adjudicating has a much tenderer sensibility. So I would say if you can do your monologue without profanity and still have the meaning of the monologue, do that. And if your monologue cannot be fully revealed without a bunch of profanity, choose something else. Know your audience. Know that you are applying for a young person's artistic program, not a theater in off-Broadway in New York with a mostly adult, sophisticated, and grisly appetite. So just know that in advance. Choose material that's good for you. Choose material that you like and that you care about, because if you don't care much about your material, then it's going to be hard for you to convince anyone else to care about it. The guidelines are there for a reason. They're mostly firm suggestions. So if you think, I can really knock this out of the park, but it's a little bit different from what they're asking for, go ahead, make a big choice. It might be rewarded, and it might not be rewarded so much. But it's super important that you like it, you care about it, you can throw yourself into it, and have fun with it.
Absolutely. And later in the document, we're going to review the criteria section. And I think something I would just tag on to that is, specifically with, if it's, some cussing, some adult language, or really any of these other things that we have in terms of guidelines, which, like Bo said, are kind of firm suggestions, which is different than a rule. Right? Just make sure that it's contributing to your ability to show yourself in the lens of the criteria, or rather that it is contributing to those criteria areas and what you're submitting. Because lots of times things like that can be just more of a distraction from your skill sets and what we're looking for in the criteria than actually a contributor. But ultimately, we're interested in the choices that you all are making as applicants. So as Bo described, if you make a choice, make it with conviction, know why you're making it. And if, let's say you're in the second and final round and we ask you, we're curious, why did you select this monologue? Just be prepared to have an answer to that. We're going to be really interested to know what the answer is. And no one's going to know that answer better than you are. Bo, anything else about monologues?
Yes. It's really hard. Finding a great monologue is really hard. And I don't have a lot of advice on how to make it less hard. It's supposed to be hard. Finding just the right piece that really brings out the best in you as a performer is a difficult task. It takes time. It takes asking lots of questions. It takes reading through lots of books. So if it feels hard and daunting, good. That means you're paying attention. It means that you're in the same boat of a lot of really wonderful artists who also struggle to find perfect material for themselves. Not just good, but great. So if you have a trusted theater teacher or someone who has more experience, please ask them what they do. Please ask them for advice. Please ask them for tips. If their advice strays really far from the guidelines, veer closer to the guidelines, because we spent a lot of time over the years trying to accumulate suggestions that will make it easier for you instead of more difficult. But don't be afraid to ask for help. And again, if it hurts, it's working.
And Bill, I'll ask this question that came up just because I think it's relevant to what we've discussed very recently. If there is a certain word, maybe it's an offensive one that someone either feels uncomfortable with or feels like doesn't contribute to their monologue, how do you feel about them cutting that word?
Oh, fine. Perfectly fine. If we were doing the show for a paying audience, there are copyright laws and ethical issues and other considerations. But for the purposes of an audition, again, we want to see you comfortable making choices that work for you. And if you really love the monologue, but it doesn't work with that one word, so long as it makes sense without it, cut it. That'll be fine.
Great. Thanks, Bo. All right. So we'll jump back into the applicant guide to review the last item that is uploaded as part of the initial application. And that is one of my favorite parts of all GSA applications, the optional special skill video. So this is a really unique feature of a GSA application. This just exists for drama. And this is actually just a way, again, an opportunity for us to get to know you, is that phrase that Bo used a couple times earlier. So as you'll see here, this is totally optional. You will not be punished for not uploading it. Your application will not go to the bottom of some pile because you did not upload it, but you have the option to do so. And like it says here, this can be you demonstrating anything that you consider a special skill. Maybe for you, it's just a skill, but it's special to us. So really, don't think that this has to be something like speaking in 7 languages back to back or doing a quadruple backflip in your living room or anything like that. So Bo, tell us a little bit more about the special skill video and why this is here in the first place.
Sure. I was trying to think of the old Saturday Night Live sketch where the guy says, "Get to know me." And that was kind of the punchline. It wasn't a great sketch, but that line, just get to know me, went through my head. We want to get to know you. So do not waste the opportunity for us to get to know you even more. Whether the talent is wonderful, like being able to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow on a saw while you're ice skating, that would be amazing. I would really want to see that. But Nick, you were mentioning yesterday that someone boiling spaghetti was also someone's special talent. And even though one could argue that that's not a special talent, the fact that they chose something kind of fun and quirky like that revealed something about them. And we're looking for fun and we're looking for quirks. So that sounds like a really good special talent segment to me. Do not waste an opportunity. And that's an opportunity for us to get to know you even more.
Absolutely. It's probably, maybe would you say, Bo, less about the actual skill and more about the choice that people make and what they want to share with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If that person playing the saw while ice skating totally fell down and could not play the saw, watching them deal with adversity, watch them deal with being a good sport about falling down, there's all kinds of things that would educate us about that person, so long as they're able to handle it all gracefully, or if not gracefully, with grace.
And someone asked, speaking in other languages a special skill. So to the point we just made, I don't know, is it? You tell us.
I dare say that speaking another language is more impressive than boiling spaghetti. So since we've lowered the bar so far, yes, show us that other language. Sing a song in another language, or just read from the phone book in that other language. We don't care. We want to get to know you, and that's a fun way to get to know you. If you're able to impress us with something, fantastic. And if you're not going to impress us, but really endear yourself to us by taking the assignment seriously and doing something fun or silly or great or disastrous, but in a fascinating way, go for it.
That's great. And despite the enthusiasm with which Bo and I are discussing the special skill video, again, just a reminder, it is optional. If you choose not to submit the video, it will not be held against you.
But don't do it at your peril. We want it.
All right, so we'll jump back to the applicant guide here and keep on reviewing what is in this document. So the next section is the final round requirements. So this is a description of what's going to be asked of you in the second and final round of auditions if you are invited to attend that second and final round. We're not going to cover this part today, but I just want to mention that it is here. You can visualize your success and see what will be asked of you in the final round. Just a reminder that that final round, we're not yet 100% sure if it's going to be in person or virtual, but if it does have to go virtual, the process that we're going to design is going to be in the spirit of what you see here generally, so it's still relevant and helpful information. So again, we'll let you know whether those are going to be in person or virtual by the time that you know whether or not you're actually invited to that second and final round. Moving right along, one of the most important sections of this guide, the criteria section. So criteria are what we're scoring your application on. So if you were to look at the score sheet that the judges had in front of you while reviewing your application, it would look exactly like this page you're looking at, except with scoring numbers underneath it. So each of these are the criteria that you'll see, like creative choices, that is the piece of criteria. And the sentence after it is a descriptor of how an ideal applicant would exhibit that criteria. So we've got for drama, creative choices, voice, body, and dedication to art form, growth, and community. We also have ensemble attitude, but that is for the final round, so you don't have to worry about that just at this point. I want to point out that dedication to art form, growth, and community, this is the one piece of criteria that's present across all 9 art forms. And going back to what Bo said earlier, this indicates that we're not just looking for the best actors in Kentucky. We're looking for the best actors, but also really good humans. We're looking for the people with the greatest amount of potential, and really the best future creative citizens that we can find. So we're looking, for folks that are excited about living and breathing and eating and sleeping theater during GSA. It's a long, intensive program full of, long days. So is that something that you're interested in? Are you interested in growing and being challenged toward growth in the program? If you know everything there is about acting and you're winning, Oscars and Tonys, then this might not be the right program for you, and that's okay. But if you feel like you have growth and things that you want to learn in theater, then it might be. And then also, GSA is not just a school, not just a summer program. We are truly a community. So we're looking for folks who can contribute to that community in some way, shape, or form. A couple other things about criteria. These are not weighted in any way, so none of these are secretly more important than the other. We're going to use these, holistically to adjudicate your application in context, all right? So all of these are equally as important. There's no secret recipe that we're hiding behind our back. And finally, just a reminder that the criteria are in this document, not just as a FYI, they're here because they are tools that you can use. So as you record your videos, select your monologue, craft your essay responses, maybe throw in that special skill video, although the special skill video is not scored, show us these things. So if you're choosing between 2 monologues, ask which one might show these things to us more. When you're crafting your essay responses, read that description about dedication to art form, growth, and community, and then maybe that will help inspire your response. So Bo, anything you would like to add about the criteria and how students can use them, what we're looking for?
Sure. As I hope we've said a few different ways, we're looking for a mix of students. So if someone has a great voice, but maybe they're not comfortable as a physical performer, great, that's your strength. We'll look for that talent somewhere else. If you're the complete package and you have all of those things, that's great. We're looking for you too. But this is the metaphor that I use with my students here at school. It's like the superhero team, the Avengers. Very different superheroes with very different superpowers, all of which are useful in different ways. We're not looking for 9 Hulks to be on our team. That would not solve certain issues, but having a team that looks very different, that acts very different, who with different kinds of skills makes for a great ensemble, at least the kind of ensemble that we're looking for. So I don't want anyone to look at that list and let it be a list of their personal failures. It is a list of different kinds of things that we are looking for, some of which are super important and some of which become less important when the right personality jumps out at us, when the right enthusiasm jumps out at us. Personality, enthusiasm are things that require 0 talent and 0 training. So those are kind of the main ingredients we're looking for. Everything else is kind of gravy at that point.
And while we're discussing, the selection process and what we're looking for, I think this is a good time to bring up a topic that I always try and be transparent about in these conversations, which is the competitive nature of GSA. There are 256 spots across 9 art forms of the summer program, and we're probably going to see about 1,400 applications to those 256 spots. There are 34 spots for drama. It's our 3rd largest art form. But I bring up the competitive nature of the application process, not to discourage or intimidate anyone at all, but really for the opposite reason, because I want to point out that this application process is designed to be a resource to you regardless of whether or not you get into GSA. On the other side of this application process, you're going to be more prepared to apply for college. You're going to be more prepared to apply to other theater programs. You are going to have learned something about yourself as an artist, as a human being. You're going to be able to speak to your artwork and your creative practice better. So we really encourage you to apply just for yourself and for your own personal growth. Hopefully, of course, we know we all want to get into the program. And also I want to emphasize that I said there are 34 spots in our drama program. There are not 34 talented, promising young actors in the state of Kentucky every year, and that's why we choose that number. There are far more. Every year we have to turn away students, and it breaks our heart to put them on the alternate list or say no to them because we really want to work with them. We have 34 spots because of boring things like funding and administrative capacity. So I just want to emphasize that if this does not go in the direction that you hope it will, that does not mean that you are not talented. It does not mean that you don't have a future in the arts. There are lots of really great people and talented artists in Kentucky who never went to GSA. And that if for some reason this doesn't go the way that you want it to, really use that as inspiration and a launching pad for your next opportunity. If you think about an actor or one of your favorite artists that you really admire, I would put money on the table that if you ask that person, they have heard no more than they've heard yes. But all of those no's and also those yeses, of course, but those no's have gotten them to where they are today. So that's just part of our journey that we're on. Bo, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, that was poetically beautiful and exactly what I believe in my heart.
That's high praise coming from you. All right, so I just want to pop over into the applicant guide real quick one more time before I move on to Q&A, just to point out that there is a tips section at the bottom of this applicant guide. Super helpful, super important. This is a list of tips designed and customized specifically to the GSA application process. There's also a whole section about tips for expanding your knowledge of plays and playwrights, which is going to help you search for monologues. It'll also just be fun to learn about the plays and playwrights because you're actors, you're theater folks. So spend some time with these tips. Bo, before we move into questions, there's also an application timeline listed at the bottom of this document, just so you all know, in case you need a reminder. Bo, before we move into questions, any top tip or two that you might want to highlight for folks today?
Sure. We're not just looking for a great team in terms of ability. We're looking for people we want to spend 3 weeks with. And for us, that means enthusiasm. It means seeming like someone who can work well with others. We're not just looking for good actors or people who have the potential to be good actors. We're looking for people who have the potential to be good artists. And artists care about their community, and artists respond to the times that we live in. And artists feel strongly about things other than just being on stage. So I think we've made the point early and often that we want to get to know you. We really want to get to know the whole you, everything you're all about. And the more we have a sense of who you are, the easier it'll be to consider whether this is the kind of program that would be the right fit for you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bo. All right, so now we're moving into our Q&A portion. So please feel free to add your question to the Q&A feature if you have not already. I am attempting to pull up an answer that's to a question that someone just asked, and I thought this might come up, but I forgot to look it up. So how many people usually apply for the drama program? I will preface this by saying that the class sizes at GSA are generally determined on a ratio of how many applicants we see for that art form. So for instance, instrumental music and visual art are 2 largest art forms of the GSA summer program. They also tend to be the 2 art forms that we see the most applicants for, and so on. I don't think that this person necessarily is asking this question that I'm about to pose, but there is no easy or more difficult art form necessarily to get into GSA, or at least that's the method behind our approach to determining class size. Last year, just so you know, it looks like we had I want to say about 150 to 160 applicants for those 34 spots. A couple other questions that have come up about kind of technicalities about the application, so I can take these. Somebody asks the question, what does the drama application look like? Should I have 3 boxes for monologues and songs? So two things. I really encourage you to watch the virtual info session recording of the application walkthrough if you're curious of what it actually looks like to upload your videos and things like that. Somebody asked if the essay can be submitted as a Google Doc. The answer to that is no. Once you get into the application, you will see there's actually like a text box that you type your answer into and submit that. You can start and stop the application, save the work along the way. So you can certainly type out your answer in a Google Doc to prepare it, and then copy and paste it in that text box, but that ultimately you'll submit it through our application portal, not a Google Doc. This person did ask, should I have 3 boxes for monologues and songs? There was a quirk early in the application process that I believe has been resolved, where the drama monologue video upload accidentally was replaced by a musical theater video upload. So it asks you for a monologue and 2 song excerpts. I believe that that has been resolved. I've been told that that was resolved, but I would love to know if it has not. So if somebody has checked their drama application in the past week and it's still asking you for songs, please let us know in the chat or the Q&A feature. We'll look into that. But if you saw that a couple weeks ago or maybe a month or so ago, that should be fixed. You do not have to sing songs for your drama application unless you want to in your special skill video. Let's see here. For the essay video, the verbal response essay video, is it okay to read the questions off from a page, or do you want the questions memorized? We talk about this a little bit in the guidelines for the personal question video in the applicant guide, so I encourage you to read those. Basically though, like we discussed earlier, we're looking for an authentic picture of who you are to let us get to know you. So for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. I know for me, there are some times where I like to have my remarks prepared and I maybe just read them in an earnest way, but I still kind of have them there to read off of. Other times, I kind of, I don't want to say wing it, but maybe prepare myself and then speak maybe more free form. You know, you hear me speaking today, every now and then I kind of have to search for my words or stop and think. That's okay too. We are not necessarily looking for polish as much as we are authenticity. Bo, do you have anything else to add to that?
Nope. Except if the comedian George Burns, when giving advice about acting, said the most important thing you need to remember about acting is authenticity. Authenticity is the most important thing. He said, if you can fake that, you've got it made. So that said, authenticity is the most important thing.
Thank you. All right, we're getting some good questions about monologues. So I'll jump in and say your monologue can be less than 90 seconds. It does not have to clock in right at 90 seconds. Let's see here. Bo, let's talk about movement. Can you move around while performing your monologue, or should they be standing still?
That's a good question. Still is good if you don't know how to move, or if your character doesn't need to move. Movement is great if you're very specific about what those movements are and it supports your artistic choices. Movement for movement's sake it tends to be pretty distracting and not very interesting to watch. So I would dare say that if your character needs to move, plan it out and choreograph those movements. And if your character does not need to move, then be still and just talk to us and communicate with us. And that will be the easiest way for us to see what the monologue's all about and your commitment to it.
Great, thank you. And I just want to remind folks, I'm going to share the screen again real quick. One of the criteria, again, is body. And we talk about an ideal applicant exhibiting physicality, which is true to the character, their intentions and feelings. So, you know, reflect on how movement or lack of movement may help you express the trueness of the character and help you make up your mind there. Let's see.
There's the question about the comedic or serious monologue.
Please go ahead.
Yes. So the adjudicator will see anywhere between 130 and 170 of these monologues. So if you can ask yourself, if you were in that same position, would you want to see 170 serious monologues in these dark and perilous times? Or would you like to see at least the occasional glimmer of something hopeful and fun? We're human beings. We love to have a good time. And if you can find a really good, funny monologue that you like, that works for you, that you can do really well, that's always going to be a better choice than a serious monologue. However, if you are such a good serious actor that you're going to blow us away by doing something with either darker or more serious material, please do that, especially if you really care deeply about the monologue. But on the whole, for this and most auditions, if you can make an auditioner laugh, that already tells them a lot of different kinds of things about you as a performer. And doing a darker or more serious monologue will probably tell them fewer things, but they might be better things. So that's my advice. Stay light if you can, but if you have to go dark, go dark.
And somebody asked a question about our guideline where we say, we're looking for monologues, or we suggest people that choose monologues of characters that are about their own age. So talk to us a little bit about that, though. How does someone make a selection for a character around their age with confidence, and what are we looking for, and or how strict are we being around that?
Sure. I think we've given a range. I don't see it in front of me. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 to 25. So people who are in high school, they can play high school students, middle school students, young college students. If you're complaining about the mortgage in your monologue, and you're on your second marriage and all that, those are life experiences outside of where you are. But falling in love and dealing with teachers and angry at parents and fighting with siblings, and which isn't to say that only young person stuff is appropriate material. We want to see you living and operating within your life experience, or the life experience of someone about your age. So you're doing a monologue about meeting your grandchild for the first time. That's not going to show you to your best advantage. But doing a really great monologue from Romeo and Juliet about young people experiencing love for the first time, or a person learning about being in college and discovering rocket science and how exciting that is. Those are things that young people are alive with right now, and that's going to be the kind of material that works best for your age group.
Yeah, again, that guideline is really more about helping you find the best choice for truthfulness to character and being able to relate to character. We are not going to be, Googling the character from that play, and if they're 26, then we're knocking 5 points off your application.
No.
Yeah.
And because I believe in breaking rules if you can break them spectacularly and to wonderful effect, if you do the best monologue I've ever seen about a woman celebrating her 80th birthday, and it's great and it's hilarious and it makes me cry and all those things, marvelous. However, these guidelines are for probably 95% of performers to find success in. If you're part of that 5% of bad kid rule breakers who achieve something marvelous by bending or breaking the rules, go for it.
Somebody asked, can we use a dialect? And we do say in the applicant guide that the monologue should not require a dialect. But again, I think if I may, Bo, that's sort of reflective of what you're saying. It's, we don't want a monologue to require a dialect in order for, it to be performed correctly. That maybe though, if somebody chooses to use a dialect because they feel like that is going to help them best portray the criteria to that monologue, maybe that would be a choice for them to consider. Do you agree, Bo?
I do agree with that. Again, we're looking for authenticity, and if the dialect can make the experience more authentic for you and the audience, great. However, in most cases, it's just kind of an extra thing that would get in the way of that, especially if you cannot do the dialect really well. We've seen a lot of really lousy dialects in auditions, and we're just trying to create the cleanest path for you, the clearest path, the fewest obstacles. That generally means no dialect, but again, if you've got a great monologue that really needs you to be Irish or Italian or whatever, and you're great at it, go for it.
And I will also point out that dialects have sometimes been used in special skill videos. So if you have a dialect that you're just dying to show us, but maybe you aren't sure if your monologue's the right place, maybe that's your special skill video. But what about performing a monologue of a gender other than the gender you identify with?
Sure. In this wonderful age, our concept of gender is broader, deeper, and more expansive than it would have been, say, 50 years ago. And as you know by now, I like big, bold choices that work and work well, and taking risks that pay off. That said, if you are a young man and if you're a big football boy and you decide, you know what, I'm going to do Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, it probably really better be good. Like that you probably need to show us something really interesting in that choice. If you're doing it just for a gag or just to be different, that's not great artistic justification. But if you are making a big, bold, theatrical experiment that you think is going to be fascinating for us, again, it's a high risk, high reward situation. If it works well, then magnificent. And if it works poorly, it may show us that your judgment about the kind of material or the artistic choices you would make might be questionable. So again, my rule is if you can do it great, go for it. And if you're a little iffy, you might want to stay in the safer, clearer lane that we've clearly articulated for you. But again, you do you.
And I just want to remind folks that your monologue does have to be from a published play, and make sure that you've read it in its entirety so you can speak to the monologue's context and in terms of the whole plot line and also that character's development. It can be from a past show that you've been in. I see we got that question. If there is a monologue that you feel like really falls into the guidelines and best shows your abilities in the criteria areas, and it's from a show that you've done in the past, that's fantastic. But it doesn't have to be either. So just know that. I want to thank you all for, we have some detectives I see here in the crowd today who have gone into the application and checked the video upload windows. And it sounds like we are still experiencing that issue. So thank you. I'm not sure I would have known that if you hadn't told me. So it sounds like when you go into the drama application where you upload your monologue, it says to upload your monologue and 2 song videos. So you do not have to provide 2 song videos. That is actually part of our musical theater application. However, do go ahead and upload your monologue video as we state here in the guidelines. I believe you should still be able to submit your application without those 2 song videos. If you are not able to, email us, let us know. We will work through that with you. We'll get that resolved, no problem. And right after this webinar, I'm going to follow up with our application portal folks and see if we can get that fixed right away. So thank you for letting us know that, and thanks for bearing with us. And if you have any other issues with that, just reach out, let us know. We're gonna help you out because we don't want that to get in the way of your application. Another person's asked, if I have an acting coach outside of school, can they be my teacher recommender? Absolutely, they can. Your teacher recommender does not have to be someone who teaches at your school. They can be a private instructor. It should be someone who knows you as a student. This person also asked if I do have a theater teacher at my school, can they be my school administrator recommender? For the school administrator recommender, we're really asking that person, and again, we talk about this in the applicant guide, about your role as like a responsible community member at school. So we're asking them about your attendance record, disciplinary record, things like that. We actually don't ask your school administrator about your artistic abilities, although they have the opportunity to remark on them in kind of free form if they'd like. So really for that school administrator, if you have a guidance counselor or a vice principal or like a gifted and talented coordinator or something like that who can fill that out, they're going to be the best person for you. Bo, what about monologues from musicals? How do we feel about those?
Sure. That's all
All
I have
right.
to say about that.
What's that?
That's all I have to say about that.
All right.
I also see the question, can we do a monologue from a past show we've been in? If that's a great foot forward for you, please go ahead. We probably didn't see that show.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take us into our last 3 questions here, Bo. One of them is from one of our attendees and 2 of them are from me. As folks are memorizing their monologues, because we do ask that the monologues are memorized, any tips on memorizing?
Oh, goodness. There's all kinds of different ways. The best way is to repeat your monologue as you're going to perform it, full voiced, with whatever movements you've chosen, again and again. I recommend that you don't sit there with a script and just kind of mumble the lines to yourself, because your body and your voice have to work together, and people forget that. So if that's how they memorize their monologue, when they get up and they try to move, they realize that your brain remembered to do this monologue mumbling to yourself without movement, and your movements or your voice or all kinds of things can go astray. So doing your monologue again and again as you're going to do it will allow you, A, to refine your physical choices as you do it. It will allow you to make sure that you're making good vocal choices, and your brain and your body will work together to help your brain remember the lines and the rest of you remember how to do it well.
Great, thanks, Bo. I see one person asked, if I switch schools at the beginning of this year, should I use my school administrator for my current school or my past school? We do ask that you use your current school administrator. If you feel like that person hasn't gotten a chance to know you as well, one, they probably will have a record on you. So that's really what we're asking for them to share with us. But also, this goes for all of your recommenders. Feel free, when you reach out to them and ask them to be your recommender, to tell them why you think you're a great candidate for GSA or why you're interested in attending this program. That's not cheating. That's actually a really great practice for your whole life when you're asking someone to be a reference or a recommender, to just share with them why you're pursuing this opportunity. They can consider that while they write the recommendation. If you have any other questions about recommendations, just reach out and let us know. We'll be glad to answer them. So Bo, we've talked about this already a little bit, but if somebody is on the fence about applying to GSA, they're feeling intimidated by the process, or maybe not sure that they're good enough, what's your advice to them?
I do have advice. Can I say a thing about recommendations and that?
I wish you would, please.
I'm going to. It's going to happen right now.
Woo!
So a great way of asking that question of someone to write a recommendation for you is probably something along the lines of, I'm applying for this opportunity and I'm looking for someone who's willing to write a good recommendation for me for this program. Would you be comfortable doing that? Some teachers and administrators will write the recommendation, but it may not be what you want it to say. But if you frame the question that you're looking for someone who's comfortable writing something positive and affirmative of your work, that will let them know that you need it to be nice things, and it will give them the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm just not comfortable writing that for you. Because it's been very rare. We have had some administrators or teachers say, this student is not ready for this opportunity. And that's an awkward position, because if we think you're super talented and super interesting, but one of your administrators has flagged you for some reason, that lets everybody involved know that it's probably not a good fit. But if you have trusted administrators and teachers who are willing to say, of course, you're wonderful, I can't wait to write it, that's great. And if you have a teacher that's willing to say, you know what, I have a couple of issues, I have a few reservations, let's talk about it. It will help make sure that the materials that are submitted on your behalf show you to your best advantage. Now, as far as if you're on the fence, absolutely. And this is how I put it with you, Nick, yesterday, the application process isn't just a door to a great room that is an opportunity. The application process itself is a room of opportunity. It's a place where you learn more about yourself as a performer. It helps you build skills that you will use later in life when you're filling out a resume or applying for a job or applying for college. There's all kinds of things that you learn and experience through the act of applying that's very useful and very helpful. And I've talked to a lot of past students who said, either, you know what, I didn't get in, but just applying was very helpful for other things. And some people who said, I didn't get in the first year, but the act of applying really helped me get through to the next opportunity, whatever that was. So A, it can be a lot of fun regardless, and B, it's super useful, and it's going to be super useful later on when you're having to talk about yourself as an artist or as a worker or as a potential college student or for any opportunity you're looking for. So absolutely, go ahead. We cannot wait to see your application.
And because we have all these amazing young artists, with us tonight, or maybe they're watching a recording of this later, regardless of whether or not we work with these young artists at GSA, Bo, what's one message you want to leave them with?
Sure, and this is something that I say to my students in the program, so this is a bit of a sneaky peek. A a dear and deceased former teacher of mine, was just kind of her mantra, and you've probably heard this before, other people say this. It is, you are enough. No matter who you are, what you're up to, you are more than enough for where you live, for your opportunities, etc. Does that mean you're going to get every opportunity that you seek? No. What it does mean is that regardless of whether you get that opportunity, that you are enough. You are worthwhile, you're valuable, you are loved, and this opportunity would be wonderful and very helpful in many ways. But whether or not you get it, just remember that you are absolutely 100% and at all times enough.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Bo. I think that's the perfect way to end our conversation today. Just reminding all of us that we're, all on this journey together, and we are honored to be a part of your journey as you fill out your GSA application. We know it's a lot to share yourself with other people that you don't know. It can be scary to do this monologue and submit it. But just remember that we're cheering you on. We want you to do well. We believe in your abilities, again, regardless of whether or not you attend GSA. And just remember that we're here for you throughout this process. So be in touch. If your question wasn't answered today, or if you have other questions, just reach out, email us. There will be a survey at the end of when I end the webinar today that should pop up. So please take that. If not, it will pop up, I think, in a follow-up email that you'll get. And both, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you. It always is. And we really appreciate your spirit and your expertise. All right, so thanks to all of our attendees today. Good luck with your applications. Let us know how we can help, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.